Hi, I'm Fielden Harper. To those of you who I don't know, I am a painter. And what's very exciting to me about this is I've taken a radical departure from painting and I've used fabric to express my creative ideas. And I am a quilter as well as a painter. And I'm from central Kentucky. And I grew up, that's where a lot of the Southern Appalachian crafts are centered with Berea College and Shakertown. So I grew up with those things being held in high esteem. Those crafts. So anyway, so what I've done now is when we first moved out here from Kentucky, I was pretty scared of being out here in such a big city. And what happened was, I made when you come to a crossroads in Kentucky, you know where everything's going in the small from a small town. And so, excuse me as I try and fix this. I can't do it. I get really there.
There you go.
So this is a painting. Shoot, had it. This is a painting, and I made it as though it were a patchwork quilt. And it's a painting of the city as I felt it existed to me, and all the different rectangles of homes and buildings and I didn't know what was coming up when I came to a crossroads, who lived in the buildings, who was there. And if you notice, the crossroads are all a little bit jagged. So it's not so easy to get from one place to another, which is kind of my experience in the world. Anyway, and so I made a wooden kind of a patchwork quilt, kind of to comfort myself. And when I started doing this fabric, I took this same kind of token iconic painting and I created it in fabric. And so it's exactly the same layout, even the same size, but it's a little bit smaller now that it's been quilted and washed. Lesson learned. So if you want to make something exactly the same size as the finish, you have to allow for a little bit of bunching up. So these two together are basically what this show is all about. And it's called, the title of this is called Which Came First. So that's my quilting background, creating the painting, and the painting creating the quilt. So like I say, which came first? So I moved on from that, and what I've been working on now is these are fabric squares, and they're 1 foot square, and I've used the primary and secondary colors, and I've used it's called Back to Basics, and I've used some of the basic shapes, geometric plane shapes, from plane geometry, and the basic shapes, and this is all fabric. And this was a really fun to do, and it was kind of hard because I didn't want like the yellow to be a flat yellow. I wanted it to be all the variations of yellow. I think Rakeem, I showed you this yesterday and I just redid it. So this is a new one.
Oh.
And the orange, the secondaries work well for me, even more so than the primaries, but that's just because I don't know, blue's okay. I love the idea of moving in and out, like you have depth to it. It's like a painting. You want your eyes to go from one surface to another. And the fact that this is all material has been a really fun thing to do. And it's kind of complex in that I take, when I'm making these strips to go on here, I have to coat them with what I call Nova color. I use Nova paints. And so I use it to make it kind of firm so that they don't sag. Like I didn't see the green, see how the top of that trapezoid sags? Okay, so that one I didn't coat, but mostly if I coat it with this Nova gel, here it is, this, and I buy all these things at Nova Color, which I've used for years. Then it stiffens the fabric and I can manipulate it. So that's a second thing I'm working on. Another thing I'm working on is, let's see if I can see this. Okay, can you all see this?
Move back just a little bit. Oh, or unless you want it up close, then yes.
Okay, well, what this is it's a really complex pattern of a kind of a star, almost like it's really hard to make. And I did not make this. A friend of mine made it, and she was cranky about it, and she didn't like the color and so on, and I couldn't get my hands on it fast enough. So I brought it back and changed some of the color and put some fabric, more fabric on top of it. And then I created, this is called kind of like a family circle. So you have I had 4 members of the family, and it's allegorical. It's one of the members is lashed down to a cork. So there's one with alcohol. There's one there's with you can, whatever you want to interpret, but there's a shark's tooth with a braid, and then a cross made out of safety pins with thread. And then one got out, and there's the key, and the key found the key, and there it goes out of this family circle. And so you can see around the outside edge, I have glass that came from an automobile, car wreck, and it can signify danger or keeping everyone else out, whatever your own story tells you that this means. So now, Rakim, should I ask, are there any questions as we go along?
Sure, let me unmute people. I was going to say, do you mind telling the story about the car glass? Because it wasn't your car accident that it was from, correct?
No, I just called out work and got it.
Everyone is unmuted at the moment unless you muted yourself. So if you want to ask Fielden some questions right now, yeah, well, we can take some right now. Does anyone?
I know that there were still some pins in those square pieces. Is that part of the work, or are they still in process?
No, thanks for asking. No, I wanted to make sure that I got them spaced the right way. It's easy enough. You get carried away with the color and how much weight each shape has, and you don't always center things as well as you can. So I measured to a certain extent, and then I put pins in them, and then I look at them for a while. And if they're not perfect, I want them to look perfect. They don't have to be perfect, but I want them to look balanced.
So is all the fabric on these, is that glued down or done with a medium, or is there any sewing in these ones?
No, there's no sewing in anything I've done except for the quilt.
Okay.
And even though I'm a quilter, I was trying to stay away from the sewing aspect.
Well, it's certainly quicker to do it this way.
Oh yeah, glue is much more user-friendly to me than a needle and thread.
Fielden, what is the substrate that is it board or canvas or?
Oh, this is a canvas. It's just 1 foot square canvases. And,
oh, okay.
And so, but it's firm. It'll take, it won't give. It'll take the well, actually, when I glue it on, I back it first with this Nova color, and then I glue it on with just plain old glue. And that works real well. I don't want to use the glue for the backing because I don't want it to seep out and be shiny. So this works for me.
So you're not trying to create much of a three-dimensional look to it. You're more wanting it to be flat like a painting, but with some texture, like with the glass shards and so on.
Right. Well, these are different.
Okay.
This whole thing is different. The other one is one single piece, and that single piece with the glass, it's dimensional, and I'm telling a story. And it's a kind of my kind of not real cheerful take on sometimes family situations.
How can I relate?
How can a lot of us could relate to that. Whereas these these squares, I'm just playing. I just love color, and I was telling Rakeem yesterday when we kind of went over what I was going to say. I didn't buy anything. I had all this fabric left over from quilts, and so I made quilts recently for grandchildren. And one of them, I made a solar quilt because she's into science and she wanted the planets. So I made planets for her, and they didn't work for me. I'll walk over here and show you. They didn't work for me. And I made another set, and they didn't work for me. And then you can see all the, this is
Very nice.
See, so this is another workstation I've got right here. And then this is a red one coming again, another one. But anyway, they didn't work. And then I discovered batik, and that just looked more like I thought a planet would look like the gases and all the things around it. So I had all these left over. And then one of the things that I just love is when you cut out something, I love the pattern that it makes. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. And that's the pattern that it makes. And I can remember coming into my grandmother's sewing room and seeing all these wonderful patterns on the floor, and they were mine. Once they hit the floor, I could play with them. So to me, this is just, I know I'm crazy, but this is very exciting. So I just wanted to create some work to use these shapes that I had. And then, are there any questions so far?
I actually have a question for you, Fielden, that I didn't ask you yesterday. Sure. So I think a big part of your process, or I'm assuming a big part of your process, because like looking around your studio, there's all kind of different types of work, is just like experimentation. And you were talking about earlier or just now, how like, if there's pieces that don't work for you, you'll kind of like work with them or something else. So how important is experimenting like in your process for you? Like, is that something that you just kind of like to do, and like, how do you determine when it's time to like move on to try something new? And then when you find something that doesn't work, does that bother you, or like, how have you dealt with that?
And that that was a very intuitive question. When I paint, I can get myself into a twist real easily. When I work with fabric, I just move on to another one and then come back to it. It's like I'm totally relaxed with it. And I don't know if it's because I just think there are no expectations. And with fabric, my introduction to it was making clothes and quilts to wrap around people I loved. So there was a different reason for doing it. And I think that reason has stayed with me. And even if I'm making a quilt for someone and it doesn't work out, which happens, well, okay, we'll try something else. That kind of thing. And I think it's just the difference in materials makes a difference in my expectations. And
I'm going to steal that. That's a great line.
Well, I didn't know it until just now.
Yeah.
So anyway, and for those of you who don't know my work, some of it is, I work, can you see that? I can't tell if you see them or not.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, these are like assemblage. And this is the story of the city. A lot of my work is allegorical. And this is the city when the 3 stages. When first moved out here, it was like a big town. And it was a car culture. So that's why I used beauty ramps. And this is pretty much what it's like, what it was like. And here's one with the tower records. And then it was like this, and then it began to grow, and then it became huge. So that's some of my work. And then some of my other work, my painting.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Fielden,
Yes.
this is Sunny. And then go back to your cityscape. Cityscape, can you go back a little bit? Okay.
The one on the wall.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it very much. And what does it mean, the circle?
The
Do you
circle.
have any specific circle meaning?
Well, this circle is
Oh.
actually a hubcap rim.
Oh,
It's a beauty rim. It's called a beauty rim. It goes on the outside, and they don't use them anymore. But they did when
I cannot hear.
you can't hear me?
It'll come back. She just hit the computer. It'll come back.
Oh, okay. Thank
Is
you.
it-
Just keep, it's back. Just keep talking. It'll come back on its own.
So anyway, Sonny, what that represents is that we're a car culture. And so I use that as sort of
Oh,
a frame for the work. And it was both a frame for the work, and it was significant because of the time.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't know it's from car. I'm so ignorant. I didn't know that circle thing is come from car.
Yeah, it is. And so I can find these where no one else can find them, but I know where to find them. So I go to swap meets, and then our favorite Mexican restaurant has a waiter that loves the fact that I use these beauty rims, and he would bring me a sack of them from time to time. So,
Okay, so circle means you are relating to the car. Oh, who's this handsome man?
there he is. Talk about a handsome man.
Who's that?
Oh, flirting.
What's going on?
What are you?
You told me a handsome man. Who's that?
I have no idea.
Nobody saw it, only me.
I saw it.
No, I see it.
What? There he is. There's one I like. Right there.
Thank you, Fielden.
You're welcome. Rakeem, I don't think I'm doing that, am I?
No, I don't know what you guys are talking about actually, because I don't see anything.
There's a guy in the upper right-hand corner.
Well, and my screen is, yeah, now it's fine. Now I see.
Oh, I'm recording, so mine shows only. I have Fielden's screen pinned, so I only see hers big. So I actually don't. Do I need to do anything to get rid of it?
No,
or-
what happened is that's what Michael Becker has on his screen now. Go to
Oh,
It's the
Red
flag.
View, and he must have talked. He must have.
That's what I used to look like.
Oh yeah.
got it. Okay.
Only 1 year ago.
Rough year.
I don't know. I've known you longer than a year.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you another piece that I did, and this is, of course, as I say, all fabric, and I managed to get my can you see that? I managed to get my circle in
Mhm.
circles, and then I got one circle in the outline, and some of this is just again, it's pinned and shaped in place because if I glue it down and I need to pull it off, it'll pull off the underneath fabric. So I just pin it till I'm really sure.
Yeah, I like it.
It's fun. It's fun to do, and it's abstract, and I don't usually do abstract. And then the last piece I'm going to show you is being at the
That's
airport.
It's a sound installation. I love it.
So I'm doing a labyrinth. And is that far enough away that you can see it?
That's perfect.
Okay, so I'm doing a labyrinth. And I'm doing it on an old painting, and you can see some of the painting showing through. And this is a mean thing to work on because I have to measure with a tape measure. There's just a lot going on, and I've had to glue and re-glue a number of times. But these braids that I've done, this braiding, and that kind of goes back to my childhood because I had long, thick hair and it was always braided. And also a braid has 3 parts to it. So there's a lot of meaning with a trinity for me. And so anyway, that's this labyrinth. And like it'll eventually have the outside braid on. But some of this, like I've made it, and it's the wrong, it should start here instead of here. So I actually have to pull it off. So, and that's kind of painful. It's like a Band-Aid. It's like, no, I don't want to do it.
Fielden, how big is that piece?
Well, here's my hand.
Oh, wow.
So I'm thinking 30 by 30. Let's see. 18, 12. Yeah. Yeah, it's about 30 by 30 and it's on wood. So I don't have to worry about fragility. And like this, something else was on it, and then I left the parts on it that let some of the parts show through. And I like the sense of history when that shows through. So
Fielden, when you're displaying this, do you want that to be on like a tabletop, or is it going to eventually go on the wall, or is it going to be both, or how is that going to be displayed?
It's going to be up on a wall, but
Okay.
I have to put it down because I have to once I glue it, braid it, measure it, and carry on with it, and then once I glue it, I mash it down with a heavy book, and you can see like this is down and good and solid. It's not down yet. This one's not down, but it flattens out, and so but that'll hold up to being put up on a wall. And I think I started this before the COVID-19 situation hit, and then I found myself really excited that I'm doing this in this particular time because so many questions. I have so many questions about things that are going on, and I'm not sure my path, not artistically, but societal path. So it's.
Thank you.
So that's pretty much all I have to show you. I have some pieces at home, but I think you can kind of get the idea with this.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Fielden? Let me move to the gallery. We do. Yeah, Susan, I see you. Okay, sorry.
Actually, your studio's beautiful. Where are you located?
I am at the Santa Monica Airport. I'm in an old airplane hangar. See the
Yeah.
and all those noises going by are trucks and motorcycles and airplanes and the bustle. And I keep my door open almost all the time, and the kids come by going to Santa Monica City College, and they pop in and want to know what I'm doing. And if it suits me, if I can do it, I'll bring them in and show them. And otherwise, they're budding artists, and they just say hi and go on. But I really like it. And then my son is 2 doors away in the same building. So that's nice.
Your son is an artist too?
Oh, honey, yes. from him. He's my mentor.
What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his first name?
Gus.
I'll send you guys his website right now, because we actually had a curatorial of Gus's work like last year, I believe, or last year, 2 years ago.
It was, I think it was last year.
I don't even know about time at this point. It could have been 3 years ago for all I know, but but we did a show of Gus's work.
And all of, yeah, right now all the days kind of seem the same, so it's kind of hard to know.
Yeah.
But this is what he's working on now. I don't know if you can see it, but it's, they're
Oh,
and
gosh,
it's still
art.
coming up in Saturday.
Oh, it looks nice.
And so he's been an artist literally all of his life. I mean, the dining room table was his from the time he was born until the time he moved out. And he's never held another job. He's entirely self-supporting with his art. So and then he's also, Damon and I talked together. I don't know if you all know this, but for 30 years we were partners teaching, and Guss was our favorite substitute. So kind of gets thick there.
The family that paints together. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Susan, you had your hand up too. I'm sorry, what was your question?
The same one that just got asked by somebody else.
Oh, about the studio. And Fielden, I guess my other question would be, I'm curious about that piece on the wall behind you, like above the door
Both
with
of
the
them.
red.
Oh.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Do you mind talking about that one really quick? That's quite beautiful.
And we were talking about Guss. Sometimes we work together. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, well, it's backlit because of the light. So do you mind stepping back just like, there you go. There you go.
I cannot see.
There you go.
Give me a second. I'm coming.
Perfect.
Okay. So
There we go.
see it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so these are Guss's energy stripes at the bottom,
Mm.
and my clouds at the top.
And when was that made?
Well, it means whatever. It could be rain. It could be a fallow time in your life, a quiet time, plus with contrasting energy time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant when was it made? Is it recent?
When?
Mhm.
No, probably about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's another one back there, but it would take me too long to get it out.
Awesome.
Did you say that was a collaborative piece with your son?
Yes, I did the clouds. Okay,
It again? Oh, there it is.
and he did the stripes. And the stripes represent energy.
Oh my God.
So
Great. Do we have any other questions? And also, I don't know whose that is, but there's like some talking in the background. If you guys just don't mind muting yourself, if you think that that's you. Thank you. Awesome. Do we have any other questions for Fielden, or Fielden, do you have any questions for us?
well, the only question I have is, well, no, I guess it's not really a question. I guess because these are unusual times, it seems like it's a fun thing to be doing, an unusual path for me to be taking. And if you all have the energy for it, this is a nice time to explore, because we're sort of marching in place. It's a nice way to be working on something that takes a lot of time, but it isn't necessarily, we don't know if it's going anywhere or not. So this is a good time for me to be doing this.
And thank you for sharing with us. Before we end, I just wanted to ask, do you still have those two pieces that we talked about yesterday? The ones with like the pubic hair?
Hakeem, honey, you're sick in the head.
I'm just like, this is recorded. Do I want to say that?
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'll put a little beat sound over it when I edit it.
All right. So this one is called, this is a little box.
see you, Bruce. I'll get to you right after she finishes.
All right, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Question.
it's the reflection.
Yeah, just maybe step back just a little bit. Okay, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, and it's called Waiting. And they're rolled up, it's interior, and it's all the other rolls, which represent, well, they take on human qualities to me. They're all snugged in and it's time, they're all tucked in and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then there's that one in sparkles down in the front is still out gallivanting. So this is called Waiting. And this moves, these move in here. So, and then, so any questions about this?
That one I'd have to see live.
Yeah, you really do. It's dimensional. It's really hard to see it, but it's it's kind of what got me started with all the work I'm doing now. I used to take rolls of fabric and just roll them up like a hobo's
Yeah, I like it.
journey.
Mm.
Sort of my journey. And this last one, this is Rakim's favorite.
What
And
is it?
this, okay, can you see that?
Move it down just a little bit if you can. There you go. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so when I was little, I just was terrified that I was going to grow up and never have pubic hair. Okay, just worried me to death. So this is called the shower curtain. And when people would come and visit, in Kentucky, the social scene is, people just visit all the time. And when people would come and visit, I would open the bathroom door when I knew they were in the shower, and it was a see-through curtain, and I could look through and see if that woman had it. And so that was such a big thing that I was worried about. And so I had to do an art piece about it. I do art pieces about things that I think about a lot. And then this part is like a bath towel, and it's me. That's me in there. And it also moves. You can turn it. So that was that was your noble director's favorite person.
So then, can I repeat that story to people?
Yes, as long as no one asks me to any sort of demonstration.
I'm going to repeat that to my 12-step meeting tonight. But I'll change your name to protect you.
There are not too many Fieldens. You really could put the finger on me like right away.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to pretend it's my story. I'm going to lie.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
You have to be careful, Michael. It's different if a boy does it. You have to protect yourself.
Oh, I've been kicked out of so many meetings, I can't begin to tell you.
Uh-oh, be careful. We're recording. Don't incriminate yourself. Bruce, you had your hand up. Did you have a question before she started talking?
I'm kind of speechless now. My question may be very insignificant, but Fielden, my wife, her family came from Mississippi, and there was a long tradition of the women in her family quilting together, making patchwork a part of the family history, like heritage. I just love that. I'm just so interested in that history. Have you ever done a work of art with, quilting, but backing with a canvas, the biggest you've done, relating to your history, your heritage? Because I think that's a beautiful type of enduring piece of art. And from what I've seen of family quilts, it's very emotional, very beautiful.
It really is. It really is. I've done something similar to that, but it's not a quilt. I got an old printer's drawer. You know what they look like, with lots and lots of little drawers in them. And I made these little roll-ups, and I put them into, and these are from my childhood. They're from specific things, and I put them in certain drawers in there, and have told it's not a quilt, but it's told my entire life story.
Well, thank you, Fielden. Excuse me for a moment. Got to go. I'm
Thank-
helping my grand with homework. So,
Thank you, Bruce. We appreciate it. So I guess we'll start to wrap up since people have to head out. So are there any last questions or any last comments that people have? All right. Well, thank you, Fielden, so much for doing this and talking about your work. And we really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed it. And it's been a blast.